Hello and welcome, guys. Welcome to this very special session with a very special guest. आज जो है हमारे बीच ऑल इंडिया रैंक 99 CSE 2023 अन्नपूर्णा सिंह है and she is a total inspiration. She has a very inspirational journey, very hardworking fellow. Okay, so हम उनसे बात करेंगे. We will try to get all kinds of strategy जो कि पॉसिबल है हमारे नेक्स्ट 60 डेज में, जो हमें हेल्प कर पाए, जो अन्नपूर्णा ने डिप्लॉय किया है खुद, और इसके वजह से उनको इतना मैसिव सक्सेस मिला है. तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल अन्नपूर्णा, many congratulations, many congratulations to you for this stupendous success, and many congratulations from all of us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Udgan. Thank you for having me on the platform. And thank you to everybody who is attending as well.
Right. So, all right. We will start the session. Just, if you can give us a brief about your background. अगर आप अपने background के बारे में हमें बता सकती है बहुत briefly, so that people can get an idea from where you are coming from और क्या आपकी journey रही.
Bilkul. So, hello everybody. My name is Annapurna Singh, and I've secured All India rank 99 this year's civil services examination. This was my fifth attempt, and this was my second mains, second interview. And after a long journey, I've been able to find my name in the final PDF. As for my background, I have an engineering background. I've done BTech in electronics and communication engineering. Post that, I have worked for 3 years as well in Intel as a semiconductor engineer. And I continued giving my attempts with my job, which was getting very difficult as well. So I think I resigned from my job. And then the last two attempts I gave without the job. And here I am.
Fantastic. So I think we have got a very good idea. So पहला जो question है मेरा, like Intel is a very big company, people they die for getting into that company. Semiconductor में सबसे बड़ा नाम है. So from there, okay, you are having a cushy job, cushy private sector job. Why take this jump towards civil services? उसके पीछे का rationale क्या है?
Right. This was incidentally one of the questions that was asked to me in the interview as well, Udyan. So to share, I think you also know that I have come from a background where I always had in the back of my mind that I have to appear for the civil services. Now, when I joined as an electronics engineer, studied for 4 years, I wanted to be financially independent. So I sat for my placements and I got the job. So I decided to continue the job. But the decision to quit the job was a very difficult one because you are getting a salary, you are living a very nice job. And I think in that respect, I would give all credit. I think 100% of the credit to my parents who have been gracious enough to support me and support this decision. I can remember very clearly that I think 4 years back, I was having this conversation with my father and mother. We were just sitting, and I told them that I'm trying so much, but nothing is happening because Bangalore is so much away. I had this in my mind that I'm not able to prepare because there's nobody around me who's preparing at that time. So I told them that I'm not able to concentrate. There are so many different profiles here. So I think I don't know what to do. So the only thing my father said was, I think you can quit. Whatever you want to do, you can just quit. And whatever you decide, we are always there at your back. I think in that respect, I've been very fortunate because a lot of people don't have that opportunity and do not have the parents like the ones I do. So I think 100% credit to my parents who supported this, and I could take that leap. It was very difficult. Even after quitting, I used to have all these doubts that did I do the right thing? Did I make the right decision? I remember having this conversation with you as well, Udyan, one of those long chats. But it's a nice feeling now that in the hindsight, everything panned out well, and it's a good feeling now.
Right. So, I also do remember our conversation, and we also had a chat around, how lonely it is to be an aspirant and you are up against the world. So we'll talk about
Indeed.
that later, right? Because it is only 60 days till the next prelims.
Yes.
One thing that I want to ask you, in your first three attempts, prelims was a stumbling block, right?
Indeed.
In the fourth attempt, you got through the prelims, and you were able to get through the main stage as well, and go to the interview. And in the second time you cleared prelims, you got all India rank 99. So can you tell me what you did differently from the first three time in the fourth attempt, so that our friends who are themselves getting stuck in this whole process for the past 3 to 5 attempts can take some notes and try this time?
Definitely, Udan. So I think here I would speak from a little bit of credibility, because there are a lot of experiments that I have done, because I was getting frustrated that why am I not being able to clear the stage. When you come into the attempts and if you are good in studies, you have this feeling that I will be able to clear prelims in just one go. And that is what happened with me in my first attempt. So I had just graduated in 2018 and I sat for my first prelims exam. And I would tell you that I was not even aware that there are NCRTs. And I was coming from such an immature background. So I would suggest all the aspirants to first of all not do that. I mean, before telling you what to do, I would tell you what not to do. Learn from the mistakes that I have done so that you don't repeat that. Always focus on PYQs, the basic book, the static. I think these are the ones who are going to be the game changer. Now, why I say that I'm speaking from the credibility, because there has always been a little bit of improvements in how much I have scored in prelims. I started from a very low marks, but just today the mark sheet has come. And the last prelims, I saw my mark sheet and I think I had scored 101.10. And this was the prelims where I was the most scared, or maybe because there was just 5 days after the final result. But I think what helped me is that I had prepared around the statics so much, and the basics were very strong. So that helped me in a very pressured situation as well. So I think what is going to help the aspirant is, first, you decide your own basic sources. You draw a line, you stay there, and you do multiple revision. Second is do test series. So I'll tell you, then after my interview last year, before appearing for the prelims, I was not in the state to study because you're anxious about your final results. So I used to write a lot of test series in that period between the after my interview and between the final results and prelims. And those have helped me because I used to go through those the explanations that are given at the back of the test series. And mind you, here I'm not asking you to buy any test series from the market, from the any of the institutions as such. To each their own. People are free to decide their own choices. I'm just sharing what I did. First of all, master the PYQs. Last 10 years of PYQs you should be handy with. You should know all the options as well. You should have an understanding on why the question is being framed, what is the trend that is being followed. If modern history is there, these sort of questions are really important. And I'm very sure that all the students and the viewers would be aware of that. And second thing is strategize. Make a strategy that this is what you're going to follow in the examination hall. In my initial attempts, I did not have this. I would just sit for the entire 2 hours, mark my answers, and color the OMR, and then done. And I was missing out. So after talking to a lot of seniors and watching a lot of topper videos, talking to a lot of friends, I realized that I devised my own strategy and devised on in what time difference I'm going to do how many questions, what is the sweet spot of question that works for me. And it is everybody's personal choice. And you will realize this after doing a lot of practice. So PYQs, practice, and the static. These would be the game changer in prelims, is what I believe.
Right. I'll just revise it for you guys. PYQs. The first is PYQ. You have to be very, very honest with your PYQ attempts. Lots of practice and lots of revision. All right. So, Annapurna, now we are going to look towards the sources that you had seen during your attempt. Before we talk about the static sources, we will talk about this monster that all aspirants have to tackle, called current affairs. So, what did you do for current affairs? Because 60 days are left, and many people are anxious about current affairs. कि current affairs कैसे होगा, कैसे करें, क्या करें. So, what was your strategy?
I think one thing I would suggest is that this anxiety is something that is very crucial to be tackled, because whenever you go, whatever you prepare, current affairs is a huge ocean. As you mentioned, it's a monster because you cannot predict anything. So you have to first calm down and see for yourself that there is certain basic amount of thing that I'll prepare. I'll discuss on that. But whatever is coming in the paper, if something is out of the blue, something random, that what animal is doing what when they see something, or any sort of those questions, we have to realize that it will be a difficult question for all the other aspirants too. And there we have to use our common sense. The amount of study and the hard work that we all put in there, it is very much sure that if we stay calm, and the questions which are marked as current affairs in the paper, they can be solved with common sense as well. So first is use that. Second is about the preparation part. So I have tried a lot of different things, and then when I finally realized what works for me, I think if it works for you, you can employ that. Otherwise, you can just see, I mean, a lot of other strategies as well and choose for your own. Initially, I used to target, I tried doing newspapers for prelims, but I was not able to keep a track and make notes. So that did not work for me. Although I did it for my interviews, but not for my prelims and mains. But for the current affairs, I initially started doing monthly magazines. You can choose your own, whichever monthly magazine you want to do. That also did not work for me for the initial attempt because it was getting very lengthy. Although I did qualify in my fourth attempt, it was very difficult for me to follow all the monthly magazines and keep a track. Then I switched on to those compilations of the 360 days that are there in the market. And I think any one compilation, if you choose, because there are so many in the market and there's a fear of missing out among the aspirants. I had that, I still have that. So don't feel that, I mean, I can do this also. It is not humanly possible. So we have to do what is one thing. And when we are revising, suppose a 360 monthly, not the yearly magazine, do it in such a manner that you are doing it parallelly with your static. So if there is a news about RBI has done something, you should be very thorough with what is RBI, what is the monetary policy committee, what are the repo rate, etc. All the static part, and then you should be aware of the news as well. And never feel that you can just do it once and then do another magazine again about current affairs. Do one thing, stick to one source, and revise as many times as you can, and try to internalize that, because in that pressure situation, whatever you have read multiple times is only going to come, not how much horizontally you cover but how much vertically you go. I think that is going to help you in the prelims paper for current affairs.
Right. So I think we have got this sorted. So I'll start with the static portion, and I'll just get your insights on each subject. I'll not be asking a generic question because we need to get into the depth. हमें depth में जाने की जरूरत है. First, I'll start with ancient, medieval, and art and culture. ओके सो आप देखते हो कि एक आरओआई का हवा बना हुआ है रिटर्न ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट का दैट मेनी पीपल दे स्टिल फॉलो दिस माइंडसेट की एंशियंट हिस्ट्री मेडिवल हिस्ट्री आर्ट एंड कल्चर पढ़ने से कोई फायदा नहीं है उससे क्वेश्चन बनेंगे नहीं रिटर्न ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट कम है बट इफ यू सी आजकल का जो पेपर आ रहा है जैसे 23 का पेपर है उसमें रिटर्न ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट पॉलिटी पे भी नहीं बन रहा है बिकॉज मोर और लेस सारे सब्जेक्ट में क्वेश्चन जो है आपका वो थोड़ा सा फिकल आ रहा है So, talking about these three subjects, ancient history, medieval history, and art and culture, what was your strategy? What sources did you follow? And आपका approach क्या था? Because थोड़ा सा इसमें questions जो है फिकल आते हैं, उतना straight forward नहीं आता है, जो preparation source है वहां से नहीं आता है. So, can you just shed light on that?
Okay. So I'll tell you what I did. I mean, the first part of your question was then whether we should give as much time to subjects like these. I think we cannot predict what UPSC is thinking and what UPSC is going to give us in the next paper. So we must not dwell into that. We should always prepare whatever is at our hand and whatever we can. So for art and culture, I'll go with that later. For ancient and medieval, there are a lot of sources, but I followed the NCRT, the R.S. Sharma, and there's one more green NCRT for medieval. That was my first source. And in the book itself, I had highlighted that. And so, I mean, if you revise it multiple times, you have to get an understanding, the NCRT. Second, I followed one source is that Udan magazine was there. I came across it long back in my preparation, and I think I have read it so many times that I now remember on what page what is there. I cannot guarantee that you will get questions from that magazine or any other magazine for that matter, but that is one source that I have diligently followed again and again. And then now I remember it. So this is my point, is whatever revision source, if it's your own notes itself, since I've not done any foundation coaching, so I did not have my own notes. But there are a lot of my friends who have their own notes, so they revise that multiple number of times. So whatever one source that you have for art and culture in medieval, you should have a basic understanding of the timeline. There was one question about last year, I think, about a book that was written in what time interval, or maybe in under what king, what emperor, or something had happened. So those questions you will not find anywhere, not neither in any test series nor in any book. But if you have an understanding on what was happening during what time, which king was doing what in their reign, or etc., I think you will have to employ your basic understanding there, and again the common sense, to do your basic sources diligently. And second, for the art and culture aspect, I followed Nitin Singhania, and that too not cover to cover. I had identified that these chapters are really important. Like there was a paintings chapter, there was dances, folk art, etc. The sculpture, architecture chapter. So all those I had done. A lot of people do the NCRT. I do not remember. There was a very thin one, fine arts NCRT. I tried doing that. I was not able to, but I think that is also a very good source. And for art and culture, I did not do the Udan magazine. It was very bulky for me. So pick and choose. Pick and choose whatever suits for you, but stick to it. I mean, hold on to it. Be loyal to your sources. Revise it multiple times, and do not go. If you have not done Udan, I just want to give a disclaimer. If you have not done Udan or any other sources that I just mentioned, do not go on, because it's 60 days. Do not go on to change your sources because she had said that. So let's just skip to that. No question is going to come from there. What my point is, just stick to your source and revise it multiple times. It will help you.
Right. So thank you for that. I think we are now going to move to polity and governance. So, there are two schools of thought after seeing the 2023 paper. People are saying that एक तो आप stick करिए लक्ष्मीकांत पे and don't divert. लक्ष्मीकांत अभी भी relevant है, और एक जो side है, they are saying that okay, लक्ष्मीकांत is no more relevant. Switch to DD Basu, switch to Subhash Kashyap, switch to or other bulky books. So, what is your thought on this, and what did you do? Can you just shed light on that?
First, I'll refrain from going into the debate because I'm not sure what will be right. But I can definitely tell you that what I did last year also, and what I think I would have done, God forbid, if I had to write the prelims again. I would have stuck to Lakshmikant, because I have never seen Didi Basu. But a lot of my friends follow that, and they have been able to easily solve a lot of questions. So your choice. But I stuck to Lakshmikant, and yes, I was not able to solve many questions, but the basic questions, you have to know. If you have an understanding, I think Lakshmikant is good enough to solve those. At least I was able to. I had revised it multiple times. I had my own notes, small snippets across the book only. So it's again to each their own. Just try and identify what works for you and then pick it. For me, it was Lakshmikant.
All right. So for you, it was Lakshmikant. Wonderful. Now let us go to economy and social development. So what was your source? Because some people go for Mrunal sir's notes, some people go for Vivek Singh, some people they stick to Ramesh Singh. So what was your strategy here? Did you stick to the conventional source, or did you go for any other unique sources?
Right. So economy is one subject that I was really scared of till the PT personality test as well, because it's a very dynamic subject, very interesting, but you have to have your concepts and your understanding right. So I did initially follow Brunal sir in like my initial attempts, and from there I got an understanding. I watched there's a free YouTube video playlist there on his channel. So initially, I think 4 years back, I watched those, and that was my first point of contact for how economy is to be approached. After that, I did follow few NCRTs to brush up on my understanding. I did also follow the Udan magazine of economy, and that is what. So for me, Udan was like my revision source. So whatever I had seen from the videos, I had just scribbled it in the Udan magazine, or whatever I had taken from the NCRT, that scribbled it at the side if it's not available in the magazine already. And then I that was my complete consolidated source. And then I did a multiple revision of that. But apart from that, the PYQs for especially for economics, if you do it multiple times and if you see at the solutions as well, it is very helpful, because if you dwell a little bit deeper into it, if this question is asked, so why it has been asked, there's a lot of common sense involved. Their economy is can be, it can become very doable. Apart from that, the other sources that you had mentioned, I personally did not approach them, so I do not have the credibility or to comment on those. But I think these were the sources exhaustively, as far as I can remember, that I followed for the economy.
Right. So now I'm going to talk about geography, and I think that was your optional as well.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
maybe you can give us some unique insights, because see, for a lot of people, geography is their Achilles heel, and they actually struggle in geography. And many people, because of the physical geography aspect, they tend to leave the subject altogether. So maybe what is your tip for somebody who is struggling with geography and who is suffering from lack of confidence in this domain? And what sources, apart from your optional notes, did you look into it while preparing?
Well, I did have an advantage because since I was coming from the optional background, so I had a better understanding because I had given that much amount of time. But honestly, I think that the NCRTs, there are two NCRTs. The ones that we usually follow. I'm not sure if it's the 11th and 12th or the 11th ka two NCRTs. The physical geography and the Indian geography one. I think those two are the ones that, I mean, if you even today ask me that on this paper, left side, what is written? So I can tell you when they are so exceptionally written, I think they are the best NCRTs, if you ask me. Because last year also, I remember there was a P wave, S wave question, and I did not revise the NCRTs last year. I did not have the time to. But I remember that I had made a scribble somewhere in my paper, and I just remembered that picture, and then I marked the answer, and there it was. It was right. So if it again, I'll just reiterate what I had been saying, that if you follow, since I had been following apart from my optional notes, the NCRTs, and if you remember the content there properly, so that is one thing that can help you a lot. But again, since it is a very vast thing, geography, there are a lot of national parks and so much. There's no end to it. So definitely, it can be very difficult for the normal aspirant. I mean, who's not coming from a geography background, is what I mean, to be scared of it. For that, I believe that Sudarshan Gurjar says, there are in certain playlist which I followed, even coming from the geography background with the optional. I had followed, it was freely available on YouTube. So I went through those. Even now, certain new platforms have brought many more. I would not name any, but you can just, go if you have already done it. I think it's last 60 days, so don't go and experiment anything. But whatever you had been following, make sure that you are giving due consideration to these maps and places in news aspect. For that respect, IR also becomes important for geography. For instance, we always think that international relation is for maybe more important in mains, GS2. But if I tell you, there were a lot of questions which were crucial for IR, and I prepared it for my interview, but that helped me in solving the geography questions in the prelims, because you would know which place is where. So, for instance, if Russia-Ukraine war is in news, so you should know that what is Donetsk, what is Donbass. If Israel is in news, so you should know where what is the, I mean, where the war is happening, where the Sinai Peninsula is. All these aspects should not be new to you. So do it in a, not just not in a myopic manner. Look at it in a wider aspect and then prepare. I hope it makes sense. I mean, I cannot be it won't be fair, because since I am coming from the geography optional background, so I cannot tell you to do all that. I always have an advantage, but I think this is something that I can suggest for geography apart from the basic books.
Absolutely. At the end, I'll ask you about, the two subjects, environment and ecology, and science and technology. So, environment and ecology, science and tech के साथ ये problem है that, okay, there is a huge overlap with current affairs. Because जो भी हम
Indeed.
current affairs पढ़ते हैं, उसमें 80% is related to science and tech and environment ecology. So, what was your strategy? Because इसमें delineate करना थोड़ा मुश्किल होता है, static कैसे करें और current affairs कैसे करें. तो और साइंस एंड टेक में थोड़ा सा हम आते हैं, तो वहां पर अर्लियर इट यूज टू बी कि डी करेक्ट कर दो ऑल ऑफ द अबव, तो आंसर सही हो जाएगा तुम्हारा. दिस
नहीं,
दिस यूज टू बी इन 2018 एंड 2017
right.
अटेम्प्ट तक होता था. बट नाउ यूपीएससी हैज शिफ्टेड अवे फ्रॉम दैट कि अब वो थोड़ा सा डायनेमिक क्वेश्चंस पूछ रहा है. तो व्हाट वाज योर स्ट्रेटजी फॉर दीज टू सब्जेक्ट्स?
Right. So first I'll start with science and tech. So again, yeah, as you said, there's no watermark difference between what is static and what is current, but there are certain areas. So I have an engineering background, but I was not very well versed with the biotechnology aspect of it, the genetic questions and all those. I found them very difficult. So for that there are basic stuff that is available. I mean, there are a lot of sources. I had picked up one from the internet, any coaching institute material you can pick up the biotechnology chapter, and I had read that. I found an understanding on how what happens, the evaluation, how it happens. I do not even remember those now, but I did my basic job on how to understand those area which I do not have a background in. But apart from that, when you see a question in the paper, and if you see that it is not doable, do not take it on your ego. You have to leave it and go. Do not take a plunge that no, I can mark both this correct or do a trick there. Definitely there are tricks that work, because in there are questions where they can ask what is the applicability of certain amount of things, and there you can use your common sense. Suppose if they ask you that AI का कहाँ use है, क्या कहाँ use किया जा सकता है, तो you have to be thinking in a wider aspect कि नहीं, अगर ऐसा कोई points लिखे हुए हैं तो I can eliminate there. So this is where your common sense work, this is where your tricks work. But do not take tricks as in कि if I can mark all correct है तो वो सही हो जाएगा. This is not the correct way to approach science and tech. उसके अलावा these critical technology, whatever is the new and emerging technology, I think they are very crucial. So you have to have a lookout for that. I think the monthly or the yearly magazines that are there, to anyone, you can go through it. You have to understand कि अगर Neuralink की बात हो गई, तो you should know कि what exactly is Neuralink. और अगर बात हो गया कि आदित्य L1 में Lagrange point क्या है, तो you should know what exactly that is. So I think that is it. And the static part, you should be aware थोड़ा बहुत. I would not suggest to go and buy a book for science and tech specifically and do a static reading as such. Don't do that. Follow a current affairs book. I'm not even aware of if there is a science and tech static book, because I did not personally follow any. But if you feel that current affairs ki magazines are enough and you're understanding, if you're not understanding something, pick up. So from there, if you see ki acha genome sequencing kya hoti, you're not understanding from there. So you go and read ki what genome is. So that is the static part of it. अगर ऐसी बात हो रही है कि क्रूज मिसाइल ब्रह्मोस इज अ क्रूज मिसाइल, सो यू गो एंड रीड कि क्या क्रूज मिसाइल क्या है, दैट इज द स्टैटिक पार्ट ऑफ इट. सो इसके लिए follow that. For the environment and ecology question, again, for this, I had two sources. I followed any of the current affair ka ek magazine. That was again for the fear of missing out part. I do not remember if I can map any question that I had read from that magazine and came in the examination, but it helped me maybe to eliminate options. I cannot say for sure, but the Udan magazine, I used it for the static part of it. I did not follow the NCRT because initial attempts I had the scarcity of time because of the job that I was doing together, and later I found that with the Udan ka understanding, I had a basic understanding for environment and ecology, and I could mark my answers. But there again, these national, so you have to have an overlap. Don't read chap subjects in silos. So environment ke sath geography also has an overlap. There are these mapping points as we all already discussed. So read them together, mark them कि अच्छा इधर पढ़ लिया तो इधर भी हो ही गया है. So I think that answers that. Then if I'm missing anything, just let me know.
Right. Okay. So if you see, थोड़े दिन पहले, like a couple of years back, these tricks and tips used to be in very high demand, right? काफी ज्यादा हाई डिमांड में रहता था. एंड उसमें जैसे अनलिमिटेड है, या बहुत ज्यादा एक्सट्रीम वर्ड है, या इस टाइप का कुछ आपका ऐसा है कि अगर ऐसा ओनली है तो गलत होगा. इन 2023 पेपर थोड़ा सा वो यूपीएससी उसको टोन डाउन करने की कोशिश कर रहा है. सो डू यू थिंक दीज टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स आर रेलेवेंट एनी मोर, या ये कंप्लीटली रेलेवेंट हो गया, या अभी भी एक एस्पिरेंट को थोड़ा बहुत फॉलो करके जाना चाहिए जो प्रीलिम्स के टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स होते हैं?
What I believe that for prelims, going into the extremes is never an option. We have to follow a balanced manner में एक तरीका we have to follow. So if I say कि नहीं एकदम ही irrelevant हो गया है, तो that won't be right, because we do not know what UPSC is planning for next, and we always have to keep our eye open कि अगर ऐसा कुछ दिख रहा है and there's something that is looking fishy, so it might work. Even in last year attempts, it has been toned down, but with using those also कि अगर you use your common sense, it's very difficult to use it in pressure. I have not been able to use it for 3 years, so I understand, but it cannot be called completely irrelevant, but do not rely on these, because as you already pointed out कि ये काफी irrelevant हो गया है, because common sense के अलावा आपको आपके understanding, basic understanding का there is no replacement. You have to be strong with your basics. And I think again I am just reiterating it, अगर आपका static strong है और अगर आप उसको current affair से link करके पढ़ रहे हैं, तो I don't think that you have to rely on the tricks, but definitely keep your eyes open. If there is something that is visibly wrong, and then you do not mark it, then it is on you. So just keep your eyes open for that.
Perfect, perfect. So I think now we can safely move on to the mains portion. Obviously, mains एक बहुत बड़ा challenge रहता है even for students who are clearing prelims multiple times. लेकिन mains में रह जाते हैं, interview call नहीं आ पाता है. You are somebody जिसने prelims जैसे ही qualify किया, you went to the interview stage. So there is something that you have done right with the mains preparation. So can you tell us what was your strategy for the the four GS paper before we move on to optional? Just briefly your strategy for the four GS paper.
Uh, then even I have learned, I mean, from a lot of small mistakes that I've done in the last attempt. My main scores was not that great, and because of that, I could not figure out in the final list. But this year I learned from those mistakes, and I tried to improve on those. So going very briefly across the four papers, so there are basic sources that you have to delineate, and in that your PYQ and then your syllabus comes to the rescue. So I did the first thing that I did from the suggestion of the other toppers and my teachers and my mentors. I printed the syllabus and then I'd marked कि ये points होते जा रहे हैं, इनको cover कर लिया है, इनको cover करना बचा है. And for that you pick your own sources. There is plethora of source and content available for mains. There you have to delineate. So 3 महीने का time रहता है. उसके पहले I would suggest कि PYQs ready होने चाहिए आपकी. आपने थोड़ी सी आंसर राइटिंग प्रैक्टिस करी रहनी चाहिए. ये जरूरी नहीं है कि आपने you have done it for optional or you have done it for GS. You should have an understanding कि ethics का question ऐसे लिखा जाता है और GS1 का question इस तरह से आता है. There are certain nuances to every paper. I'm not sure if we should dwell into that right now. You can let me know कि हर paper की एक अलग strategy होती है कि ये basic चीजें करनी होती है. Now since prelims is approaching, I'm not sure if it's relevant right now, but that you can follow. और उसके अलावा the sources would be there. You will have to choose and stick to your source because बहुत ही ज़्यादा हो जाएगा source. But PYQ will be your savior. I think both these attempts I realized that since I had written the PYQs of many years, I think 10 years, if not written, then seen the PYQ, structured it in my head in a time limit that I would see the question and I would structure it with a friend कि इसका ऐसे answer कर सकते हैं in a small sheet of paper. So do that exercise, and I think that helps in the actual paper because question का pattern वही रहता है. You have to study your PYQs. You do not have to read them. Study the pattern and you have to understand कि अच्छा इस बार ऐसे ऐसे आया है. And it's very easy also because GS3, for example, if there's a question on food, public distribution or etc., you would understand from the pattern कि next year यही आने वाला है, and you would be surprised to see in the paper कि वही आया है. So you have to be ahead of your competition. And security, for example, disaster management, for example, these are a few things that I did extra this year क्योंकि वो लगता है that हो ही जाएगा, easy है, but वो सभी अच्छा करते हैं, तो आपको उसमें थोड़ा सा अच्छा करने की जरूरत है और वो बहुत ही these are very low hanging fruits. So there are just certain instances that I give. So just stick to your sources. You will have sources. And बहुत सारे कुछ available होंगे, इसके लिए कोई books अलग से नहीं पढ़ती है. There are a lot of materials. Toppers have shared their notes graciously, and I had followed a lot of toppers. बहुत सारे Telegram channels available है. मैंने देखा था कि किसकी strategy मेरे लिए work कर रही है, किसका answering style मेरे लिए work कर रहा है. I cannot even recall how many topper answer scripts that I have gone through. I have tried to copy their writing styles, seen which I am able to replicate and which works for me. Do that when your mains time comes. That will help you because they have already gone through the drill to try to utilize whatever they are sharing. That helps a lot. That did help me a lot. And again, the guidance of your mentors. I mean, any mentor can find, they help. I think mains में guidance is very helpful. इनफैक्ट फ्रॉम मेरे तो मुझे घर में भी काफी हेल्प मिली है फ्रॉम माय पेरेंट्स. मेरे फादर ने भी मेरी बहुत हेल्प की, आंसर्स मेरे पढ़ लिया करते थे. इनफैक्ट फ्रॉम उद्यन एज वेल. आई रिमेंबर देयर वाज वन डे व्हेन वी वर जस्ट डिस्कसिंग एंड आई टोल्ड हिम दैट आई हैव अ टेस्ट एंड आई हैव टू प्रिपेयर दिस टॉपिक. And the very next day I had handwritten notes in my hand ki acha ye le lo pad lo, and they were exceptional notes. So you have to find a mentor and a good source. stick to it, उसे revise करिए. PYQ को बिल्कुल मत ignore कीजिए, and write answers. I think writing the answers and answer writing are two different things. Answer writing is a skill. You will develop it over practice, but writing the answer is sitting, giving those amount of hours and practicing. And a lot of aspirants don't do that. Do that and it will help. So these are the few pointers that I can give.
परफेक्ट सो आई थिंक यू आर राइट. अभी थोड़ा सा मेंस को हम लोग कम रखते हैं बिकॉज 60 डेज बाकी है एंड मेजोरिटी ऑफ अस आर 24 एस्पिरेंट. और अभी तो आपको लबासना जाने में समय है, तो वी कैन ऑलवेज हैव यू ओवर आफ्टर प्रीलिम्स जब निकल जाएगा तो फॉर अ मेन सेशन. ऑल राइट. सो थोड़ा सा एक क्वेश्चन रहता है इसमें दैट व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मेंस, तो क्वालिटी वर्सेस क्वांटिटी का एक बहुत बड़ा इशू रहता है कि सम पीपल से कि 20 क्वेश्चन लिखिए एवरेज क्वालिटी के साथ, और नहीं भी आ रहा है तो कुछ लिख दीजिए एंड फिर यू विल गेट सम 1-2 मार्क्स, वर्सेस सम पीपल से अगर 16-17 क्वेश्चन भी आप कर रहे हैं 20 में से पर जीएस पेपर, तो दैट इज अ गुड स्ट्रैटेजी. सो अकॉर्डिंग टू यू विच स्कूल ऑफ थॉट हैज गॉट इट राइट, या आप किसको सब्सक्राइब करती हैं?
I would again repeat an earlier answer that I had given Udin, that again we cannot go in the extremes. It's the middle path here again. So quantity and quality mein, you cannot compromise on quality, but the competition has become so fierce and so many exceptional aspirants are coming every year that you cannot also compensate on the quantity. You have to try and finish all the 20 questions because the other person sitting behind you or sitting in front of you is doing that. So you have to try and finish all the questions, but at the same time, you have to make sure that your answers are structured. You are writing whatever has been asked. More often than not, we answer what we know rather than answering what has been asked. So you have to practice that. So I would again say that you have to balance both of these rather than subscribing to one of the two schools or them.
So, in this attempt, did you complete like all the 80 questions across the 4GS paper?
I did. But the thing is that what happens is towards the end, if anybody is saying you that they have written all 20 questions with utmost precision and very nicely, I think they would be probably rank 1 or they would be very practiced. In both my attempts I have tried to do that, but towards the end there is always a rush. Last 2 questions would always happen in such a manner that you would just try to finish it, writing whatever has been asked in a very haphazard manner. There are a lot of people who finish it in very decent manner. They have done it in 2 minutes before and then giving their answers scripts very nicely. I am not one of those people. I suffer with a very slow handwriting. So but then again, even with that it has worked out, so don't worry on that aspect. Try to do as much as you can. That is in your hands. That is your locus of control. Other things are uncontrollable, so leave it to God for that matter. But try from your end, you try your best. Try to improve on quality. Try to finish with good quantity, and I think you're sorted then.
Perfect. Today we had our mark sheet declared, people who could not qualify prelims. And, there were a lot of heartbreak in the sense that people have qualified their GS portion with 95, 100, 110 marks. But, they were not able to qualify the CSAT. So, for CSAT, any suggestion, any guidance that you can give us?
CSAT, I think it is something that this year I struggled. So I had always ignored CSAT, and this is something that you must never do. In that respect, I would say that I've been lucky. I come from an engineering background. I had a good, strong maths ka grip, so I thought that I'll be able to clear it easily. In the past attempts, I have been able to, but this year CSAT was very difficult. And even while writing, solving the paper, I started with mathematics, and I was not able to solve the questions. And in that respect, at that point of time, you have to make a call ki nahi, I cannot stick to something. Do not succumb to your ego. Switch strategies in between. So that is what I did. I passed by a narrow margin, but I did pass. And for the sources, I think I would not be a credible person because I've not devoted as much amount of time. But you should follow. There would be a lot of sources available. Do follow something. Do a lot of practice for CSAT. And one thing that I can suggest you, coming from my own personal experience, is do not stick to a specific strategy. Make a strategy that you have to attempt these many questions because you would have practiced and you would know that these many questions work for you. But in between the paper, if you realize that this section has become difficult, do not succumb to your ego that I'm good in English, or English literature is my optional, so I have to solve the passages, or I'm good in maths, I come from this background, or I have maths optional, so I have to solve the maths. No, all you have to do is cross a cutoff, and for this you have done enough amount of revision, enough amount of practice. Trust on that and do not lose your calm, because it will be a difficult, as far as I can predict, it will again be a difficult CSAT paper, and the practice is what I think is going to play a major role there.
Right. So, I don't know if it is the right time to ask this, but रहा नहीं जाने वाला situation है हम लोग का, because but क्योंकि today we had that interview marks and fantastic performance 212, and last time I think yours was 176, so
Exactly.
fabulous improvement from
Thank you.
coming from 176 to 212. And what did you do for it? And because we have a fair idea listening to you for the past 40 minutes ki personality kaisi honi chahiye, but still what you will suggest to us, maybe in the future, if some of us might be going to the interview stage, so aap kya bata sakte ho hame us bare mein, that we can also score nearly as high as you.
Then it would be very unfair on my part if I say that I know exactly what happened and why I got this score, because it was a very pleasant surprise for me as well. I was hoping a very good score, but I was hoping a good score last year as well. But that did, I mean, 176 is a decent score. But you in a personality test, it is something that is a very unpredictable stage. So you would go with a lot of hope. You have done a lot of preparation, but it is always very unpredictable. But there is a basic minimum that you have to cross, and that you can do by certain basic things that you have to do. You have to be thorough with the newspaper, follow them properly, do a DAF. Before filling the DAF, you have to sit with a person of experience, and then fill your DAF properly. Done with the preparation of your DAF. I mean, any question that comes out of your DAF, you should be able to answer. Last year as well and this year as well, I was asked questions from my DAF, and I think those questions I tried not to give up on. I have prepared this year also. There was, I think, a change that I got a lot of time to prepare. My friends jokingly said after my result that had come that she has prepared more for interview than for mains, because I got almost 4 months. It got extended so much. My interview was in April itself. It was, I think, on 4th of April. So I was continued preparing. It gets very exhaustive also, but I think I'm thankful to my family, my friends, that they kept the motivation high and keep preparing. But it is the D-Day that counts, and all this preparation, whatever DAF ka preparation you have done, whatever current affairs newspaper ka reading you have done, if you're able to present it there, it's not about an elocution or how well you speak a certain language. It's just not, neither it is about knowledge, mind you, because even in this year's interview, I mean, the very first three questions that were asked from me, I said no to them. But it's in the manner how you do the conversation. And I think it was a beautiful experience that had happened, and it's a lot of luck as well. By God's grace, I got this course. I cannot take the full credit, and definitely the support of the parents that they have done. I think I used to have a lot of mocks. So if this is one suggestion that I can do, that my friends used to take a lot of mocks for me. I did go to certain institutes for a formal setting of mock, but I would sit with my mother. I would ask her, okay, this is the topic, you ask these many questions, and she would ask, and I had told her that you do not give any reactions, because in the actual interview they are all very neutral, so you would not know if they are liking what you are saying or they are not. And these sort of things, these are very small things. But in my Telegram itself, there is a window where I'm just texting myself, okay, if this question is asked, this is what you can answer. So yes, there is a lot of preparation behind interview as well, and of course I'm right here. Any amount of support, if anybody is needing, I am here to help, of course. But yes, all the studies that you're doing for prelims and mains, that will also again help you in your interview preparation.
Fantastic. So, I think I'll just put up a last question before, we can take a question from our friends. And I think perhaps this is the most important question, more important than whatever, I have put till now. It is about mental health and loneliness that aspirants face. Last time I think I met you back in Patna, and, we were two depressed, lonely souls. and you had those dark circles from the lack of sleep. Obviously now you are glowing like anything, but at that time that was a struggling phase. When you're preparing for UPSC, you leave behind your social life, your career prospects, and a lot of uncertainty is there. And going into the 60 days, last 2 months, the pressure only increases. So what kind of message, or what kind of thing that you will tell our friends, who are struggling from mental health issues, and who are struggling from loneliness, or who are struggling overall from the pressure that this examination brings?
Right. Um, I think this is a very, I'm very happy that you asked this question, Udin. That is a very understated issue that is there, and we do not talk enough about it. But I think, as you mentioned, that we talked that there's so much trouble. And when you talk, you feel very relaxed that somebody is understanding. So before the aspirants, I think if there are parents, if we can, make this message reach to the parents, that if your child is preparing for something so huge, and if you're patient with them, if you're trying to understand, because it's not easy to understand the situation that the person is in. And I believe that it is more difficult for the family and the parents rather than the aspirants themselves, because there are times that they cannot do anything. It's your exam, it's your struggle, you have to go through that. But in that period of loneliness, they are unable to do anything. I think all they can do is, lend a helping hand, try to shield you as much as they can, talk to you. Don't be, you can be alone because you have to prepare in isolation. I did prepare in isolation. All my friends, I think they were really mad at me because I'm not on WhatsApp. Till date, I'm not on WhatsApp. I was not active on any of this Instagram, etc. I did open it back again, but it was not working. And then Telegram was the only thing that was working for me because I had to see the whatever sources are there. But keep a small circle. Don't be lonely. You can prepare in isolation, but don't be isolated from everybody. I had been very fortunate that I had a group of people. We call it a GMeet group, where a lot of other aspirants are there. We were preparing together, and everybody is going through the same thing. I'm very fortunate that I have a brother like Udin who is very understanding. I think he's more mature for his age. I was very depressed after my final results last year. I think we had a call, and he is telling me things. I think these sort of things, they push you, and you know that you're not alone, and you're not doing something that is wasting others' times and resources. When something happens and something good happens, it is good for the entire family, and everything changes overnight. I cannot stress on this enough. For me, it's still sinking in that all these years of hard work. My mother has shared a very sweet note with me. It's written that it was, I think she shared with me last year. I mean, when I was not able to qualify prelims by a very narrow margin, I think 0.5 marks. So she had written that एक दिन वर्षों का संघर्ष तुमसे बहुत खूबसूरत तरीके से आके टकराएगा. And it is there on my table. And I just see it and I realize कि नहीं, अच्छा है, कुछ होगा. There something will happen. And I think that is the faith that is there. If not on anybody, I have been fortunate with the family that I have, but if not on anybody, not on any friend, have faith in yourself, have faith in your God, have faith in the work that you're putting in. Something good will come out of it. And if it's not in UPSC, somewhere else, something good will come out of it, because you're doing so much hard work that does not go in vain. And just talk to people around you. Do not be lonely. And you have got such a great mentor with you. Talk to him, talk to your friends, and write things down. Scribble when you're feeling frustrated. I used to do that. That used to help me. I did not listen to a lot of songs or movies that time, but I'm fond of music, so I used to lo-fi music, listen to that. I used to go for walks when I would feel very stressed. I am a very big foodie, so I would try to like to eat a lot of things. Whenever I would, give these rewards that, okay, we studied for this many hours, and if we are able to complete this much, we will eat something nice. So that can be healthy, that can be junk food for, some time of the month. But, do that. Be kind to yourself. You're doing a very good job. Your work. A lot of people do not have the courage to choose this preparation, but don't make it your everything. There is a life beyond UPSC as well. It's a beautiful life. My friends who had exhausted their attempts, but they're doing amazing. So wherever an aspirant would go, it is not a waste of time. They would do something incredible in their respective lives. So that is the message that I would give. I think that's a very long one, but I think it's really close to my heart. So the message, here it is.
Absolutely beautiful, and this was something very necessary. Before we move on to the questions, I'll be just shameless enough and get your feedback on our group, ISSF, because you have been a member for the past 1.5 years, right? So
Yes.
maybe you can give us some feedback. What are your thoughts, and what more we can do, to bring good things to the aspirants.
I think it's a very, very good platform. I think it's a very close knit group, and very nicely, it's a there's mutual appreciation, and you people are helping the aspirants in need without any backing or without any um, expectations, and that is a very beautiful thing that you are doing. And the quality of the content itself is really good. I mean, it's not always available. In fact, I also did find a lot of benefits from the MCQs that you used to put. I would just open the Telegram. Okay, there's something, so I would just see, and then the results were there. So that helps. Constant being in the constant MCQ mode. So that is also very helpful. So I think that is incredible that the platform is providing. I think we need to expand its reach to other aspirants as well, and I think this platform is going to go a long way. It is a very good platform, and I think a lot of aspirants would appreciate and get the benefit out of it.
Thank you so much. And I think now we can move to the questions. I'll just request you guys to be very brief. Please do not ask any repeat question, already something which is covered. And because I think Annapurna also is, short for time. But we welcome your questions. Any questions that you guys have, you can put it in the chat box, and I'll just pick it up, and, Annapurna can address that. Okay. How did you manage the time between prelims and mains?
That was, I think, one of the most that is the time that you will feel that it just vanishes. It just goes away. Even 12 hours won't be enough. So I think that time, something that helps you is to have a routine. The very first day that result had come, I was very overwhelmed because do have a preparation from the back. You have done some sort of mains ka preparation from the beginning, but it is the full-fledged preparation when you see that it is coming and you have to write answers, you have to prepare all the GS, so many topics, and then optional. So that gets a little overwhelming. There, the first thing that I had done on the advice of a mentor, that I marked all my days. I went from back. I think I prepared a routine for 1 month first, and did it for my optional as well. That in this amount of time, these are the chapters that I have to cover. I tried to stick to it as much as possible, and do not go for 3 months altogether, because it is not possible to stick with that. And be very adaptable and flexible in your approach for your routine as well. I did also try to incorporate where and when I have to do the test series, and where and when I have to do the PYQs, to continuously gauge the level of improvements that I'm doing by just reading. So it so often happens that the aspirants are just reading the content, and they are not writing anything, maybe with the lack of guidance. But you should write, because at the end of the day, it is you, your pen, that paper, and the 20 questions, and those 20 questions are going to fetch your mark. So be in the practice mode. Write at least 2 questions, 1 questions, alternate days, every day, whichever suits you. But write. I think that is how my those 3 months went between prelims and mains.
Right. I think there is a very, very specific question from Shushant. Did you bubble the OMR as you solved the prelims paper, or at the end?
Well, so Shan, this is everybody's own strategy, but I had tried a lot of other strategies, and I did do this trial in my test series. So finally, what I was doing in the last 2 attempts, I had this strategy of solving the paper in two ways. I mean, 2 times, I should say. So in this first 60 to 65 or 70 minutes, I would try to go through all the 100 questions and solve as much as I can. Then in that, there I would have a 10 to 15 minutes ka bow. There's a window. There I would try to mark, I mean, not mark the answers for 10 minutes, I would just put a dot where I'm sure, looking at the answer scripts, not then and there. I'm not coloring it then and there. And then when the questions, then, in the second round, which I have to go for, I would then solve them, and then parallelly do the dots. Once all the dots had been done in the OMR, in one go, I would color them. So I would not just, see the answer and then color. I wouldn't do that. That did not work for me personally. So I would just make a dot in the OMR and took all together at the end, at whatever time I had fixed for myself, I would just color them all together.
Right. So I think there is a question from Priyansh. Priyansh is asking tips for writing ethics answer. Any tips that you can give us?
For ethics specifically, I think you can get better strategies, because I think ethics is something which I think I have been good at, but I've not been able to manage the time there. I think I'm not good at, but I think it's something that I like preparing, and I used to get good scores in the tests as well. But even in the marks, I have gotten a decent score in ethics. But there are people who get 120, 125. So I think they would be more credible to give you tips. But what one thing that I can give you, and that works definitely, is go with the PYQs. There are so many repetitions. Verbatim repetitions in the ethics paper. So if you have solved, 5 to 10 years of PYQs, written them, or even seen, there are so many toppers who have been gracious enough to share their own PYQs. You will get an idea. Again, then I would ask you to, sit and write the ethics PYQs. That gives you a very good idea. So that is one tip that I can give you.
Fantastic. I think there is this question by Dev. He's asking, should we go for optionals which are popular in demand in the market, or something which we have a background in but it is not that popular?
What exactly is popular? Something
So
that is
popular, maybe I think they are talking about PSIR, maybe anthropology, sociology, and unpopular like statistics and agriculture and animal husbandry. Maybe some people which have a very niche background in.
hmm,
So
hmm, hmm.
what are your thoughts on that?
Um, I would try to answer it from a personal point of view. I'm not sure that if it is the correct answer. So I have this background in electronics and communication, and that is not in one of the any of the optionals option, but electrical is there. So I did go through the electricals syllabus, and I did saw there are a lot of overlaps with electronics. But since I had read electronics for 4 years, and I was working on it also, I optional that would be interesting, that would be helping me in my GS papers as well, and that I can carry on if the journey gets longer. So I think I had seen all the options, as you mentioned, PSIR, etc. And how I dwelled on geography finally is when I went through all these PYQs. I did do a research on PYQs. Okay, these are the questions, and I felt like this is from my own aptitude that I can answer these questions. I would be very willing to study all that is there in this, even though geography syllabus is supposed to be very huge. But I think geography is something that has both the times, both the mains. That is one of the factors that I've been able to qualify mains, and I had a very static score. Last year also I scored 270. This year also I scored 270 plus, around 275. I'm not sure of the exact, 273 to 275. So it's about your liking and something that you can carry on for longer. So if there's something called agriculture, if you're good at it, and if you think that you can carry on with this, you can perform in this, pick that. But be very strategic also. Don't be very emotional in choosing subjects, because agriculture is something that would help you. Just an example, would help you in your GS as well, and it would help you in your optionals too, again for statistics, as you mentioned. So I think these are some technical subjects which might give you a good score. So I think I would not comment on exactly which one should you choose, but since I've shared my own journey, you can maybe pick out what to do, what not to do from that experience.
Right. I think there is this question, should one leave their corporate job? Because, people are in the dilemma that should they leave it or should they not leave it? And just I'll add one question to this. My personal question is that, before getting All India rank 99, you had a small win in the BPSC exam also.
Right.
And so do you think that that played a factor? So two questions. One, should we leave our job if we are starting from scratch? And did that BPSC win that you had last year, did that play a role in giving you the confidence boost?
Okay. To go with the first question first, um, I would say that just going, I mean, if you're doing a corporate job already and starting from scratch, as in for the preparation part, I think looking at it in the hindsight, I think I'm very happy that I did not just leave away my job, because one thing was there that I wanted uh, an experience. I wanted to have the financial backup available with me. If UPSC does not happen, I can, fall back on something. And I had a very good experience working in the corporate as well, and that helped shape my personality too. So I am not in favor of, just quitting from the job just for the sake of it because I have to prepare for UPSC. I did try to manage it and I was not able to clear it in the initial attempts. But it is on me and not on the corporate job. In the initial attempts, I was not managing the time properly. I was not dividing the time properly. And in my job, it was a little difficult as well because the workload was very high. Semiconductors was just the talk of the town. So it was increasing in an exponential manner. And so it depends on the pattern of the corporate job that you're doing. If you're able to manage your preparation with it, there is a basic amount of hours that you can put in. And if you have proper guidance, I think you can very well continue with the job. But you should be very discretionary in choosing. You should make your mind that, okay, if I feel at this point of time that it is not working out, do not be scared to leave the job. I think it was a very huge step because from the very next month, you stop getting a salary that you were getting. And that is, I think, a very big change that happens. It was very difficult for me as well. But, be courageous in taking that decision. And the second part of the question, whether BPSC helped me, I mean, the BPSC result, of course it did. It did a very big boost for my confidence, I would say, because I did not change any strategy, any pattern, any manner in which I was preparing. I was still putting in so many hours and so much hard work. But at the back of my mind, I think I just got this credibility on my own. Ki, okay, I can clear something in just one attempt, and I did not have an understanding uh, from a longer time. I can continue here. So that, yes, for me at least, it did play a role. The BPSC win.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so final questions we are having. How did you get your mains answers credibly evaluated? And
Hmm.
do you think that the coaching institutes who offer this facility of mains answer evaluation, they can be relied on?
Okay, so first, I have written two mains, and I'll tell you the experience from both. The first mains, I had taken a test series of one of the very famous coachings, and I would not say that it did not help me. It did, because they had a timetable, and in this there were sectional tests also, there were full length tests also. So I did diligently follow uh, writing those. But in terms of marking, I think I was a little bit disappointed. In that attempt, I did switch to another platform. There was this platform that was individually checking the copies of the aspirants, and they would give it in a very small amount of time. Any coaching institute, if you have written a test, you can just submit your answer scripts there and they would evaluate you. So for me, it was coming from two sources. I would just match both the evaluations and then pick what is good for me. I was discretionary there. And again, I cannot stress the fact enough that I had a lot of help from my peers as well. They were very gracious too. And even some of the toppers from earlier years, they were gracious to, look at my answer scripts. They could not give as much time, of course, but they also looked at my answer scripts in the first mails that I had given. But I also did one thing I think that can help for a lot of people is I downloaded a few of the answer copies of the toppers. I would look at the question and I would write the answer on my own. The 5 questions I would do like that. Then I would see the toppers answer, and there would be a lot of difference in the quality of the toppers answer and my quality. So it was not up to mark. I would pick up things from the topper's answer and use it in my notes, keep it in my notes, at least consolidated everywhere. It's not scrambled and scattered across. It is at one place. So when I revise, I can very well on my own imbibe those things that I've picked up in my own answer in a very limited amount of time. In the second attempt this year, when I got the 90, not take any test series. But what I did was, since I was part of the one of the coaching's interview guidance program, so they had provided it for free. But what helped me was that we had a small peer group of 3 people. We all had written mains, so there is a lot of credibility there. We would sit in a Gmeet or a Zoom call, and we would all write the same tests, and then we would see at the model answers that the organization has provided, and from that we would pick up. So it was a very exhaustive exercise, but I think that is something that has helped improve my marks for around 40 marks from the last mains to this mains. So do not rely on any organization blindly. I think if you have a group, if you have friends, and if you have mentors, I think here I have to tell that this attempt I had a lot of support from my teachers as well. Some of the teachers, not organizations, but some teachers. I was lucky that I had a few. They looked at my answer scripts. Some experienced people, you can ask them to see your answer scripts. So be in just absorption stage, but do not absorb anything or all the suggestions that is coming your way. A lot of that is noise as well, so you should filter that out. Okay, this will work, this will not work. And how you will get that credibility is by seeing the topper answer copies, because you would know that it has worked for them. This has been working for a few toppers in the past UPSC attempts, so that might work for you as well.
Perfect, perfect. Obviously you are the talk of the town, and everybody is trying to chase you. So we'll not hold you back. There are a couple of questions. Maybe I can put it into your DM and you can answer that, and
Sure.
I'll just forward it. Okay, so I think one is from Karthike and one is for Swarna. I'll just give it in your DM because I think you have a session from 8:30. I just
If there
want
are
to.
just two questions, we can finish it off with them. It's
All
okay.
right,
I
all
can.
right. So wonderful. So first question is about optional revision. Like, what was your
Okay.
strategy for optional revision? And the second question is how to improve communication skills.
Okay. The first one about the optional revision, so specifically for geography, I think first is that you must have your notes ready. So I had a I did do some understanding of coach foundation classes for my geography option because I was not coming from that background. But that was an online coaching because that was during the COVID times. I took a course, and then from the course I had made my own notes, and there were summary notes. So for one chapter, and I got a help from my peers also who were there in the classes. They had also we shared our notes with each other. Whichever was good, we would just follow those notes. So for suppose there's one chapter called Perspectives of Human Geography, so I had a 10-page notes ready for me, and I cannot tell you how many times I've gone through that 10 pages itself. Now I remember all the names of the geographers. And when you're writing your answers, I think those names organically come in the answers. And that is what will fetch you marks. So I think the first step towards revision of the optional is make notes in a manner, not the bulky ones. You will have a bulky ones, but you have to summarize it and make it into shorter ones so that you can revise it multiple number of times. I cannot stress it enough that multiple revision does wonders in mains and specifically for optionals. And I think test series are a very good medium, or first of all, PYQs. I think this year I was very lucky that I had a group of three people. The other two aspirants were already in the service, and both of them had helped me. Also, all of us, we would do something that we had taken out 10 years of PYQ of geography optional, and we would discuss them. So we had marked that, okay, 1 hour we have to finish these years and these chapters, and we would stick to it diligently. Every day we were doing that from 9 to 11, 9 to 10, and that was very helpful in the revision. And in the last month, I think I did a lot of tests, freely available in the market as well. So you can do that. I think that helps in revision too. And what was the second question, Udin?
That was how to improve the communication skills.
Okay, so I think your mentor can guide you better. He has wonderful communication skills there. I think there's no set pattern on what is a good communication skill, what is not. As far as you are trying to express something and the person sitting in front of you is able to understand that, it is a very good communication skills. So I think this is what I would say. Just try to be as natural as you can and as expressive as you can. And brevity of expression is always welcomed. So be as precise as you can and answer to the point. I think this is the communication skill tips that I can give.
Wonderful. And I think this question is a common theme among college students who want to crack the examination, but are on a bit underconfident side.
Hmm.
But I think you have given a very excellent answer to this. So we'll not hold you back. Obviously, you are having so many other commitment, but it was so nice of you to give us your time. And we again wish you many, many congratulations on this fantastic victory of yours. And before Labasana, before you hit Labasana, I think we are going to grab hold of you once more, and maybe you can
Definitely.
guide us for mains as well, because a lot of us, it's my belief that they are going to write the mains this year, and we are going to make you proud. Okay, so thank you so much for your time, and again you have made us proud. So all right, friends, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for being so patient, and thank you so much.